are back with the Hub Scale podcast, where we dive into the minds of security leaders and entrepreneurs all around the world. This week, we have Idan Wiener, co-founder and CEO of Illustria. I'm super excited to dive into the topics today as they're a little bit different than the usual topics. So, Idan, it's great to have you on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here finally. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we've been back and forth for some time, but yeah, I'm super excited to do this one today. But I guess for the listeners who don't know Idan, just give a quick intro to yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Idan Wiener. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Illustria. 7 years as a Naval Academy officer in the Navy, long time. Later on, product manager in a few companies. Always wanted to be an entrepreneur, founder. Felt I want to create something from 0 to 1. I established Illustria with my partner, better half, Bogdan, the CTO, 2.5 years ago, and living the dream since.
Yeah, no, I love it. Obviously, we met in Israel, and we was diving into a lot of these things that we're gonna go through today. But I guess it'd just be great to hear more about Illustria. Tell us about the business and kind of where you play in the marketplace.
Yeah, so today developers don't write the code from scratch. In fact, 90% of the code comes from open source, which is amazing, but it's not a safe place. And developers are not security experts. So when they use those open source libraries, it can be malicious and maybe lead to 0-day. So in Illustria, we're creating a SaaS solution to mitigate and reduce all open source risks. In general, for security teams, for CISOs, to better manage and mitigate all of those risks in inline approach. We like to go deeper into the dependencies and mapping of the open source libraries. And we look for the misconfigurations, mistakes made by developers, eventually to give more control to security teams. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. I also Carl Mattson, shout out to Carl Mattson joining your advisory board a couple of months ago as well. So you're definitely on the right track to doing some amazing things. I guess you tell me a little bit about the customer base. Like what type of customers are you going after, and what's kind of that defined area?
Yeah, so easier for us to go to the regulated areas like financial services, banks, credit card companies, insurtech, fintech. They have like a big database of very important information, and they know that more about the risks of open source rather than like an early stage startup. So that's why it's easier for us to go there. Also, they fix the SDLC process. So this is, let's say, the preferred ICP for us today.
Yeah. No. Awesome. I want to take it right back to the early days of the entrepreneurial journey. We spoke about this in person and dove into a lot of details on this, but it's a cool story of what we was talking about for sure. But to take me back to the early days, you mentioned right at the beginning, you always wanted to become an entrepreneur. You wanted to get to 0 to 1. So just take me back to the early days.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, very naive environment. A lot have changed since. But I think the number one thing would be, resilience and persistence. We got like maybe 100 no's from investors. Also the same from VCs. We did like 3 pivots. And we were without funding for almost 1 year. Now, this is crucial because we needed this indication from the market that we're on the right track, and it's not for everyone. I feel like everyone, wants to be a founder, but it has a lot to take to be, in the trenches, and get like no's every day. And I can say for sure, and I told you when we spoke before that, there are some times, to be very honest, that I felt like maybe we're not good enough. But I got my indication from customers who told me, listen, Idan, we have something here. It's very interesting, and keep on going. And every single conversation, if it's an investor, if it's a customer, you get much better in the pitch, in how you sell the product. Now, do you sell the vision? And eventually the first check or the first investment is from someone who believes in you. And this is something you learn along the way. I understand today, in order to get this first yes, not necessarily it's from a perspective of an angel or a VC or a customer, you need a lot of things that, eventually need to be okay together. It's to be in the right place on the right time, a good chemistry. They look, if it's a customer, for the specific solution. If it's a investor, they look to invest in a cybersecurity company. So someday I decided that I'll try to do the best, and I cannot control anything. And while I release that motion, things made more easier for me to continue in my path. Yes. And this is a long way answer, but yeah.
No, I love it. I like the way you explained it there, because a lot of people, like you mentioned, want to be a founder, right? It's like the ideal dream, but realistically, you're dealing with a lot of stuff on a day-to-day basis, especially in the early days. So, and that dives into one of the topics we'll talk about soon. But I just want to touch on a couple of points you mentioned there. And that first year of getting a lot of no's, how did you personally get through that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get no. No one's like to get no. But you need also to understand why you got no, and try to do the reverse engineering and understand what is the reason and how to getting better and better. And from the moment you let your ego aside and you understand this is a business, and you need to think how investors, let's say, evaluate a startup and founders, then you becoming better and better. And you have to be very strong mentally. When I started this venture, I didn't know how it's gonna run to my veins, and how tough it's gonna be. After 7 years as a Naval Academy officer, and I did very interesting time there, and I think those were the fundamentals for my journey today. I don't think it's on the same level, but I think the thing that I've been through with the army helped me a lot in terms of like the basics core of Idan in general. And I feel like on this startup, everything is just exploded outside. It's not for everyone, and I'm trying also when I meet like first freshman founders, I'm trying to be very honest with the approach and explain them what I've been through, just that they will understand how is their life is going to be, and what is going to take from there to win or to raise. And it's not for everyone. But when you get this first yes, when you get your first customer, it's one of the best things happen in my life. It's so exciting that you becoming addicted to the feeling. And it's becoming much sweeter, the success or the like quick wins, let's say.
Yeah. No, I love it. And you mentioned there, obviously, kind of when you're speaking to kind of freshman founders or people who are thinking about going on their own, what types of advice do you give to them?
First of all, the question is how much runway they have to live, because things are taking a lot of time. To be honest, took me 4 times more than I anticipated within Illustria. So you have to, first of all, invest in yourself, meaning that I don't know investor who will invest money in a founder which basically not believes in yourself. And believe in yourself, meaning that you're going to stop your daily work within another company and start working on a venture. And so the first tip would be to work at least have a runway of one year or 1.5 years. And this is a lot of money. Okay. And then you need to adjust your level of how you live your life and where you live. And if it's Tel Aviv, other place is going to be very expensive, and maybe you're not going to restaurant every night because you need to work on a venture. So basically your life is going to be changed. The second, if you have a founder or not, this is another thing that we can talk about. And I think that also another tip would be to find some mentor, someone who can clear the noise, because I remember in the beginning, I met a lot of interesting people, which gave me a lot of advices, but everyone has its own agenda, things that they try to achieve. And at the moment I met let's say my mentor, or someone that, he basically, if we want to be romantic, is my compass for my ship. All the noise, is basically cleared, and we know there is one way to do the things, and then you're running on like one direction and you don't look back. And you need to find this person that has the experience in startups, in corporates, how to raise funds, that you can rely on, and he has one person to ensure the success of the company. And with that moment, everything become easier in terms of what to do tomorrow, what are the next steps, what I'm trying to achieve 3 months from now, what is the roadmap in terms of the company and KPIs, etc. And because we're doing this on the first time, we don't really know what we're doing. So it's good to have someone on board that has this experience.
Yeah, I think that's super kind of insightful. A lot of the people that I talk to, especially on the podcast, they always talk about a mentor in earlier days and things on those lines. But how do you go around finding somebody? Say, for example, if somebody's in a company right now, wants to go off on their own and build their own venture, but they don't have anybody to kind of lean on and be the compass like you mentioned there. But how would you go around finding somebody like that?
Yeah, so I will go to like the specific vector of the my idea or ideation, or like find the right area of expertise. So for example, if I'm talking about cybersecurity and open source, I will try to find someone who already has experience in the business of open source, maybe like 20 years, maybe like a C-level corporate, maybe a second time, third time founders who knows, who've been through the things that we are only started. And in Israel, it's not a big, it's not a big group of people. Also in the world, I mean, it's absurd, but you can find and you can get, this is something I learned today. You can get basically to everyone you want. You just need to find the right place, right people. So it's not something that it's going to take you a while to do it. And from that moment, you just meet another person, and you find yourself doing like 10 meetings a day, and eventually you find the right person, which you have this chemistry, and you feel it. It's like a dating. I always say that, with customers, with investors, you feel it right in the moment, and that's it. I mean, from that, you're just running together.
Yeah. I remember you saying it when we met and talking about it's like dating. I thought it was quite a good analogy, because it's right. You get that feeling, even if it's over Zoom or whatever it may be. You get that feeling straight away. I guess one of the topics today is quite close to home. This, and we was talking about before, mental health within entrepreneurship. You've mentioned a couple of things there. Obviously, getting hundreds and hundreds of no's in the first year, which is a type of person to continue to get through that and then carry on going, number one. But just tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about the journey, and in terms of the mental health side of things and everything along those lines.
Yeah, first of all, I think this is one of the most important subjects for founders, and I want to bring awareness to that, because we need to take care of ourselves. And I believe that every founder needs to find his happy place, a place that he can relax, a place that he can go to breathe, because it's a daily effort that, it's not easy, and it's not for everyone. And I know as Idan that my happy place would be my family and my place that I would been grew up in, north of Israel. And I go there every 2 weeks to breathe, to see green. This is what makes me happy. And this is very important because on your daily journey and meetings and running from place to place, you need to find yourself some quiet time to think. And this is crucial to your future, because this is a long journey. This is a marathon. This is not a 100 meters running competition. And sometimes I found myself that I'm pushing too hard, and eventually what happened to me was just collapsing for like 1 week, as you know. So this is another thing that I'm trying to work on myself as Idan, to find more windows, to go to the sea, to breathe, to meet my friends and my family, go to vacations. Nothing will happen if you go to 3 or 4 days, 1 week vacation. Company will still, running. Everything would be okay. I see it today from the other side. When you go out from the perspective, you find yourself being more creative, bringing another ideas to the table, and I like doing that. And I understand today, after 2.5 years, this is a must for every founder. Find your happy place, learn when to stop, go everywhere you need, find the balance, manage stress, and also find a big brother to talk to about your what your real feelings, because this is something very important to let go.
Yeah, I think it's so super important in terms of the entrepreneurship world. I mean, I started my journey a year and a little bit ago now, and for the first 6 months, I literally locked myself in a room practically, didn't go out, didn't do anything, and it probably was the worst thing to do at the time, because that affected how I worked. It almost became a fact that I didn't even like doing it anymore, that's what really shocked me with all of this. So just take me in terms of kind of the journey that you mentioned a few things there: the family, the friends, a big brother, spending time in your home where you grow up. But what about kind of the day to day? Because from at 9 a.m. in the morning, you could be on the best high in the world. You just close the customer. By 10 a.m., you're in the worst mood ever because something else has gone wrong. So tell me about how you manage the day to day.
Yeah, so meeting with friends in the evening is a must for me, maybe like 2 times a week. Doing sports every morning. I'm running, I'm swimming. It makes me healthy, it makes me sharp. I can, while I'm swimming, I'm thinking about how to pitch my Illustria to my customers. I really like it. So I'm also think that sports is another thing, and try to not push too many meetings on one day, as you mentioned. I mean, maybe to do like 7 or 8 and not 15, as I used to do like 1.5 years ago. Okay, because when you observe yourself, you'll see what happened. Like in the end of the week, like Friday, you are exhausted. So on the long term, I mean, if you do less meeting on a total week, nothing will happen. And from the other side, it is like, for me, there is like 2 sides. There's the side who said like, keep on pushing, the grit side, when they close you the window, go through the wall, whatever. From the other side, it is like the angel who said, listen, Idan, you have to chill, you have to relax, you have to understand that things, take time. And it's a delicate balance that I'm trying to be, to dance with it. Sometimes I'm doing it much better, sometimes not. Sometimes my body tells me, listen, I'm collapsing because Idan, you did too much. And maybe another tip would be just to listen to yourself, listen to your body, listen to your mentality, listen to what's happening around you. If you're exhausted all day, if you're becoming ill a lot, if you are tired a lot, it means it's too much. And then you just need to stop, do like 2-3 days of whatever you need to do for yourself, and continue from that moment.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I like that a lot because I recently took about 6 days off for the first time this year, and I've come back a new man. So I can definitely relate to that.
You know what is the problem? The problem when you go to a vacation for like 5-6 days and then suddenly everything is quiet and you say, wow, so I'm getting bored. So what about what I'm doing right now? I mean, it's a problem.
Yeah, I think any longer than a few days, you start to the mind starts to wander back in, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
no, it's super exciting. In terms of the Illustria journey, I think it's really cool what you've been through to get to where you are right now. So tell me about the future, Idan. Where does Illustria be in the next 5 years?
Wow. First of all, I mean, we want to shape the future of how companies are consuming open source libraries from the Wild West, and we believe it's a huge market, and we want to change how developers are using open source. I'm deeply concerned with the situation today. We don't want to interfere with the daily job, but we for sure 5 years from now want to be the biggest companies who, let's say, bringing or bridging between developers and security teams. So we want to start from open source, but later on go to application security and runtime and do lots of amazing things we are working on right now. And of course, moving to the States and going to the Big Apple. Exciting. I mean, this is amazing journey. I mean, it's fascinating. I want to get back to to the mental health. I found myself 6 months ago in New York running like at 5 a.m. because I had like a jet lag, and it was raining, but I wanted to go running, so I was running, and like I thought to myself, wow, this is amazing. I'm right now in New York within my venture, selling my product, meeting with customers, going to conventions. I mean, I'm just fortunate, and this is one of the purest, happiest moment I had, because you believe that you've been through all of these no's and all of these trenches cases to just go to the top of the world and be there physically and embrace this moment. So this is something I won't forget.
Yeah, being grateful as well for how far you've come. I think that's a huge thing. So yeah, that moment running in New York at 5 a.m. in the in the rain, it might not be for everybody, but for you that was the that was the highlight, which is awesome stuff, which is awesome. But I guess I want to touch on that actually, because what actually drives you then? Because everybody has different drivers, right? But what drives you?
First of all, I like to create something from 0 and to 1. I mean, I really like seeing the process, and I really like to find the best people out there. And in my experience, in my role as CEO and co-founder, I get the chance to meet amazing people. This is amazing, to find those just brilliant people around the world. And I think also you becoming addicted to the winning approach. 90% of the time I'm failing, maybe 95. But when you get to the point of you had like a quick win or like a big win after you failed like for 6 months, I really like it, and I it's very addictive. And when you see on your eyes the process of when we started in the garage, 2 founders, and then raising some funds, then you have customers, then you have employees, then you need to pay for them salaries and pension. I mean, this is serious. And then you have US based customers. This is much more serious. I mean, the bar, raising the bar every time, and it excites me every time the bars go higher. So, and this is why I'm doing that. I'm just creating something within your like 10 two hands, and you feel me. This is something I really like to do.
Yeah, I think it's well, honestly, you're going to do great things. I think it's going to be amazing to be with you along the way and watch you along the way, Dan. So I think it's awesome. But we are heading quite close to the end of the podcast. But I always like to ask this question because I think it gives a lot of value to a lot of people listening, including myself. It's quite a selfish question, but if you had to go back to the beginning of the entrepreneurial journey and you could tell yourself a few things, what would you tell yourself?
Wow. um wow, this is a great question. Not to get excited by, things that basically people are saying, and celebrate only when things are, done and signed. I think that words has a lot of let's say also emotions, but impact. And I think it's a combination between being very naive and also romantically hopeless about things that maybe would be. And you meet with a lot of people and they're saying, you have a great product and you have a great vision and blah, and you're very hyped. And one day later, it's just ghosting you. And then, so this is the process. You started to understand that also it's take a while, but people are saying stuff and you need to just keep on going. While we are talking, there are like maybe 100 things or processes that being, in Illustria simultaneously that I'm pushing. Maybe one or two will succeed. And my role as the CEO and co-founder is just, bringing more to the funnel. I see that as a lead generator. It could be customers, it could be investors, it could be resellers, joint ventures, whatever. So 99% of them would fail, and I need to bring more and more and more to the table. And understand this is part of the process and part of the ride. And most of them is not on my control. It can be a lot of other stuff like chemistry, luck, be in the right place on the right time. And you never know what will happen tomorrow. And I think that I said that in a good way. And you'll be also surprised. And some of the customers, just from nowhere, we talked with them like 4 months. And then they come back to you after like 6 months and listen, we want to buy the product so even my first US-based customer, if you would say to me 1 year ago that they will be my first customer, I would be laughing, because basically we reach them from an SDR point of view, like, hi, you want to buy Illustria? This is absurd. So you don't know what will happen. So this is my advice for myself. And I have a second advice try to be the best and try to be very nice, because it's a very small environment and you don't know what will, be tomorrow. I found myself consulting with a CIO that eventually yesterday became a CISO on another company. And because we had this amazing conversation, he wants to buy my product. On the other hand, as a mistake I did, I had not one of the best conversations yet, and I found this person on a different seat. Okay, so we are humans, we're making mistakes. We need to understand that those people, you will meet them eventually in a different seats or places, and you try to be as delicate and respectful as you can.
Yeah, I always say life always comes around in a full circle. So whoever you're speaking to on a day-to-day basis, make sure you at least leave a good impression, or at least do something nice, because they may be your boss in 10 years, and you've no
exactly.
So you've always got to play that side of the game. But honestly, I really appreciate today's podcast, and I think you touched on a few things that have been quite close to home for myself, especially over the past year and a half. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other around pretty soon.